I'd like to tell you a story that's not a period story. It's a personal family heirloom story, as it turns out.
Cool.
And since both of my parents are gone now, I'm sort of the holder of this, and I want to spread it around as much as possible. I wish my mother would have written this down because she knew all the little details. But first of all, a little setup. My dad was born in 1917, and his father, my grandfather, was a master plumber. My dad always said he didn't want to grow up spending his life in other people's bathrooms. So he took up two hobbies pretty much on his own. One was electronics and the other was photography. He even took some correspondence courses. Eventually, by the time he was old enough, he got a job working for Ellis Chalmers, wiring up switchboards, that sort of thing. And then the Great Depression hit. So he fell back on his other hobby, got out his cameras, and essentially became a freelance photographer, hopping trains back and forth across the country, following the vaudeville circuit, which is a whole nother set of stories, which I'm going to skip over. Otherwise, I'll be here all night. Anyway, finally, he decided in 1941 that he was going to go home to spend Christmas with the parents, with the family. He arrived on a Saturday, which was December 6th. Next morning, they get up, they turn on the radio. Guess what's all over the radio? December 7th, 1941. So now the conversation around the table was basically, look, I'm like in my 20s. Yeah, that'd be about right, yeah. I can wait for my draft number to come up, or I can enlist now and I can take a test to get into the Corps of Engineers, which is a little safer than being, cannon fodder. Which, considering his background, he aced with flying colors. They sent him to basic training in Louisiana, and then shipped him off to, I believe it was Kentucky, to engineering school, where they taught him to be a surveyor. After an intense 6-week course in surveying, they shipped him off to England. Turns out they didn't need any surveyors in England. They already had plenty of maps of England. So he spent the next basically 2 years at this large base up in the northern coast of England, prepping huge mounds of equipment that would eventually be used for D-Day. Apparently there was a British saying that if those Yanks send one more bloody tank over here, the whole island's going to sink. Anyway, one day he is going off to London, 2-day pass, R&R. He's down there shopping, and he gets caught out in the street during an air raid. What does he do? Run for cover? No, he stands in the middle of the street, pulls a camera out of his pocket. He's taking pictures of German bombers as they go overhead. I actually found some of them. Yeah. Anyway, while he's doing this, just down the street are 2 young women in Home Guard air raid warden uniforms. And they look out and go, what's that bloody Yank think he's doing standing up there while the bombs are falling? The man's Barney. They run out there, they grab him, they drag him into shelter in this big brick archway. I'm not sure exactly what happened in the archway, but after the air raid, he was dating one of them, and that was my mom. Yes, I am here thanks to the Luftwaffe, all right? So, this is the setup. Now, when he was on the base, they didn't need any surveyors, but his commanding officer discovered that he knew electronics, he could run a movie camera, he knew how to keep the PA system running, and so they kind of put him in charge of keeping all the miscellaneous stuff running. According to my dad, the PA system failed about once every 3 or 4 days. He kept having to tinker with it. So one day he's sitting out in his little Quonset hat, playing around, making the PA amps work, and his lieutenant comes in And it says, "Corporal, get your butt out to the front gate. There's a couple of British cops out here want to talk to you about assaulting an MP." And my dad says, "Sir, there's got to be some sort of screw up. First of all, I haven't been off the base in 2 weeks. Second of all, do I look like I go around beating up policemen?" And his lieutenant says, "No, they mean member of parliament."
Different MP.
Yeah. My dad says, "Okay, this has got to be a total screw up somewhere." He says, "Well, they've got your name, they've got your identification, they know what you look like. Get out there and talk to them." So he has to go out there and talk to 2 Scotland Yard detectives. And they have to back up all this what had happened. Turns out that, like many young men, in other words, half the GIs on the base, they were dating local girls. According to my mom, the British girls considered the Americans much more exotic and exciting than typical British young men, who were in great shortage, especially after Dunkirk. And as a result, a lot of these GIs would be sneaking stuff off the base as presents for their girlfriends. Wool socks, blankets, American cigarettes. According to my dad, you could take 2 packs of Lucky Strikes and walk into just about any shop in London and make a trade. And of course, my father, since he kind of ran the movie studio, they had a popcorn machine. I'm not sure what an army issue popcorn machine looks like, except it's probably olive drab. So he decides that he is going to sneak off the base as a present for my mom a 1-gallon can of cooking oil and a 10-pound bag of unpopped popcorn. Some of you may start seeing this coming, right? The thing you have to understand is, even before the war, in England, popcorn was somewhat of a delicacy. They didn't grow corn in England. You could get it at high-end movie theaters. Some high-end stores would sell it to you in a little bag. Nobody made popcorn at home. So, this is where my mom's and my dad's version of the story kind of diverge a little bit. And it has to do with the instructions that my dad gave her when he handed this over. Anyway, one weekend, my mom is in her upstairs flat, along with her half-sister, the other young lady in the archway, and the half-sister's fiance, who happened to be the son of a member of parliament. And there was no air raids expected, so they had a couple of days off, and they're sitting around, said, "What should we do?" And the fiance says, "Well, Mom and Dad have invited us out to their little mini estate out at the edge of London. They invited us to dinner." And my mom said, "Well, my boyfriend gave me this gift here. Let's make some popcorn as a gift, as dessert." So they get on the tube in the underground. They go out to the edge of London where the MP has this mini estate. And now, according to my mom, they are standing in the kitchen going, "Well, how much should we make?" "All right, well, let's see. There's 3 of us, and Mom and Dad make 5. And we're probably each going to have 4 or 5 cups." So they get out this big pot. Now you see it coming, right?
I've seen real.
They get out this big pot. They pour some oil into it. This part they remembered. They take like between 15 and 20 cups, more than half of the 10-pound bag.
I think I saw this movie.
They put it in the pot. They take it out into the living room, and they hang it over the coals in the fireplace without a lid. They now retreat to the kitchen to help Mom make up dinner. Father comes home. He sits down on the couch, opens up the latest copy of the London Times, gets about through the first paragraph when something starts going off in the fireplace. And these little white smoking things start flying in all directions. Thinking that some fiendish new German bomb has now come down his chimney, he immediately drops the newspaper and dives behind the couch to take cover. This is where it gets worse. You see, because he is a member of Parliament in wartime, he doesn't drive himself to and from the Parliament building. He has 2 home guardsmen assigned to him as driver and bodyguard. They're standing next to the car out in the driveway when they hear what they later reported as the sound of rapid gunfire coming from inside the house. So, these 2 guardsmen bravely kick open the door, come rushing in, pistols in hand, expecting to confront an assassin. Instead, they see the man they're supposed to be protecting laying face down behind the couch, and this brown and white smoking stuff flying in all directions around the room. They bravely rush in, kneel down next to him, check him over briefly, seeing no profuse bleeding or obvious wounds. They turn him over. Each one of them grabs an ankle, say, "You hold still, sir, we're going to get you out of the house to safety." At this point, the crew in the kitchen has been alerted by the commotion. They come out to the door to see Father being dragged out of the house on his ass, yelling at the 2 guardsmen, "Put me down, you bloody idiots. I'm all right. You hold still, sir. We're getting you out." And what my mother describes as this smoking avalanche coming out of the fireplace. It's going everywhere. She was horrified, and the rest of the family burst out laughing. The guardsmen yell at them, "Go out the back before whatever's cooking off in here explodes," because they think it's some sort of explosive. No, it's popcorn. "Get out of the house." All right. They go out of the house, run around the house, pick up Father, dust him off. When the guardsmen get back to their home base, back to the motor pool, they report this to the authorities, to their commanding officer, who, because it involves an MP during wartime, they turn it over to Scotland Yard, who now wants to show up and charge my father with orchestrating an assault on a member of Parliament, despite the fact he wasn't even there when it happened.
But he
did manage to talk himself out of this charge. Mostly, I understand, by taking the 2 Scotland Yardsmen into the movie theater, demonstrating the popcorn machine, explaining to them in detail what this idiot girlfriend of his had apparently gotten completely wrong, giving him some bags of popcorn and sending them away. What he could not talk his way out of was the official charge, which I believe was misappropriation of government property. Not that he wasn't doing anything every other GI on the base was doing, just he got caught at it in a big way. And the British government was complaining about it a lot, which is why, when he got his honorable discharge in 1946, listed on his honorable discharge papers, which I have seen, I found a copy of it, he was listed as PFC and not corporal. Somebody had to take the shot, and guess who it trickled down to? And that is what my mother always referred to as the popcorn incident.
Yes.
Okay?